Hey everyone, before we jump in, don't forget to subscribe for real-life stories that hit close to home. You won't regret it. My name is Michael, and I've always believed that trust, respect, and integrity are the cornerstones of any relationship. But sometimes, even when you do everything right, life has a way of showing you just how fragile those foundations can be. It all started at a fancy event Emily insisted we attend together. I had spent the week preparing, ironing my suit, making sure every detail was in place. I wanted to show up as her partner, proud and presentable. But from the moment we arrived, something felt off. Her friends were laughing, clinking glasses, and I noticed a smirk that didn't quite reach her eyes. A sense of unease settled in my chest. Then it happened. As we were mingling, she leaned toward a small group of her friends and loud enough for me to hear said, "Michael? He's just a test-run husband. Let's see how long he lasts." The words hit me like a punch I didn't see coming. I felt my face tighten, my jaw lock, but I didn't respond. I didn't yell. I didn't storm off. Over the years, I had learned that giving in to anger only feeds the performance she wants. Instead, I stayed composed, nodding politely when she glanced at me, all while keeping every thought, every feeling tightly controlled inside. Inside, my mind was racing. This wasn't just embarrassment. It was a declaration of disrespect in front of everyone we knew. The public humiliation wasn't lost on me, and yet I also knew that reacting impulsively would play right into the story she wanted to tell. The one where I'm the overly sensitive, desperate man. That version of me had never existed, and I had no intention of letting it surface now. As the night went on, I observed her movements, her interactions, the way she carried herself with a misplaced sense of superiority. I noticed small inconsistencies in her behavior, a slight hesitation when she laughed, the flicker of uncertainty behind her confident mask. And I realized something important. While she tried to orchestrate a public performance, I still held the private power of awareness, the power to respond, not react. By the end of the evening, I had already decided on my course of action. Not revenge through anger, not shouting, but something subtler. Something that would make her understand, in the quietest yet most undeniable way, the reality she had chosen to ignore. After that humiliating comment, I didn't confront Emily immediately. I had learned long ago that patience and observation often speak louder than words. I let the evening continue, watching how she interacted with others, how she laughed a little too loudly, how she sought validation from her friends while ignoring the one person who mattered most to me. Back at home later that night, I replayed every detail in my mind. The words she had said weren't just careless, they were calculated. Public humiliation is a powerful tool, and she had used it without hesitation. But what she didn't realize was that her actions, her smirks, her performance for the crowd, had given me the clarity I needed. I wasn't going to react in anger. I wasn't going to beg for respect. I was going to respond with control, with calm, and with strategy. The next few days were filled with tension I couldn't ignore. Emily tried her usual subtle manipulations, casual teasing, playful nudges, the charming smiles she thought would disarm me, but nothing worked. I kept my distance, my replies neutral, my tone steady. The more she attempted to draw me out, the more she realized that the version of me she wanted to provoke didn't exist. Then came the small triggers. A text left unread. A request for help politely declined. A casual mention of plans I wasn't attending. Each action was deliberate, yet subtle, a mirror of the distance she had created in that public moment. I could see the subtle panic beginning to creep into her expressions, the tiny cracks behind the mask of confidence she wore so easily. At the same time, I reflected on our relationship, the small ways respect had eroded over time, the tiny dismissals that had gone unnoticed until now. Contrast framing became painfully clear. The man who had trusted, who had loved openly, who had supported her in countless ways, was now quietly reclaiming his space, his self-respect, his control. And she was finally beginning to feel in real time the impact of the choices she had made. By the end of that week, Emily's behavior shifted. No grand apologies, no dramatic confrontations, just subtle recognition. She was aware now, aware that her public performance had consequences, and that the man she thought she could humiliate and manipulate had already changed the rules of engagement. The following evening, Emily tried once again to engage me, expecting perhaps a reaction that would restore her sense of control. She joked, lightly teased, even attempted a casual flirtation. But I remained calm, composed, and distant, my words measured, my tone neutral. Inside, I was fully aware of the shift. The power was no longer hers to wield. I could see it in her eyes. Confusion, hesitation, and the faintest trace of fear. The woman who had publicly humiliated me, who had called me a test-run husband in front of friends and colleagues, was now confronted with the consequences of her actions. It wasn't loud or dramatic. It was subtle, unmistakable, and immediate. Instead of confrontation, I let the silence speak. Every pause, every deliberate action of withdrawal mirrored the disrespect she had shown. The space between us became a reflection of her own choices, a quiet but undeniable lesson. The smiles she expected to disarm me were met with calm indifference. The playful teasing that once broke through my patience now bounced off a shield of self-respect I had rebuilt. Later that night, she attempted an explanation, a soft excuse about nerves, pressure, and wanting attention from her friends. I listened without interrupting. There were no accusations from me, no dramatic gestures. I simply nodded and acknowledged her words with quiet detachment. The lesson had been delivered. Not through shouting, not through punishment, but through measured presence, awareness, and control. By the next morning, Emily's demeanor had shifted further. The casual superiority she once carried with confidence was replaced by subtle reflection. She understood that public humiliation, attempts to manipulate, and careless words could no longer dictate our relationship. The balance had been restored, not by anger, not by revenge, but by a calm reclamation of personal power and boundaries. Looking back, I realized the incident wasn't just about a single event at a fancy gathering. It was a turning point, a lesson in patience, observation, and the quiet strength required to handle betrayal and disrespect. From that day forward, I knew that my boundaries would never again be compromised. Respect, trust, and dignity aren't demands. They are the natural outcome of how one carries oneself, and the man who stands firm in silence often speaks the loudest truth.